You know, a pandemic is a fright word. It scares people and it conveys more ominence, it's more ominous than its actual risk. Here's what I mean by that. All a pandemic means is many people in different regions of the world getting a virus at the same time. In the case of flu, we like to say a new virus because that's the only way to differentiate a pandemic from the yearly flu, because the yearly flu has people in all different regions of the world getting it at once. An epidemic is if the outbreak is confined to a single region. In 1918, with the Spanish flu, the government was suppressing information. People didn't really know what a virus was. They huddled together on trains, in draft rallies, in trenches. This virus became a super virus probably after it first spread to people, and the conditions were ripe for that kind of a thing. There were no antibiotics available to treat secondary infections. 30% of the death certificates said bacterial infection on them, so that it's probable that if you had antibiotics, it would have made a big difference. There was no antiviral drugs, as we have now. There were no vaccines. There were no treatments for heart disease, for people who died from heart disease, which was brought on by the stress of flu. And there was a lot of respiratory failure in this particular virus, the Spanish flu, and there were no steroids to combat that, no ICUs, no respirators. So we're talking about a far different set of conditions than now, where we have current technology, where we have scientists on the ball looking down the road. The only thing in the negative column, in my opinion, is air travel. We are a real migratory society. We're going all over the place, and therefore we could spread infections more easily. Some of our massive worldwide killers, though, have not been following the air travel ways of spread. Things like malaria and TB tend to be more regional. Even HIV/AIDS, which can be spread by airplane, obviously, in terms of infected people, has not really followed that route more recently, in that it's tend to be endemic in certain regions. So air travel gives me some measure of concern, but it doesn't automatically mean that we're going to see another 1918 all over again. I noticed that there was a phenomenon in our culture where we attach ourselves voyeuristically to the news, and we personalize the news, and we feel it's going to happen to us. And then I noticed, as I started to accumulate more data on this, that these scares were occurring with increasing frequency, and I documented how they were being played out, and I showed that there was no real media memory. There was no memory of how we didn't get it right the last time. The batting average was low. No apologies for that fact that smallpox didn't come, but we scared you. No apologies for the fact that we got it wrong with anthrax in terms of scope. Then SARS came, and I discovered that SARS was actually used as a justification for a worldwide hysteria over an emerging health threat. SARS was handled extremely well in terms of reaching out to other countries and their health systems and trying to get people to report cases and isolating sick people. This was wisdom. But SARS also put into place a global travel advisor on a chokehold on Asia that cost billions and billions of dollars to the Asian economy. And also, the same thing occurred in Toronto. Millions and millions of dollars were lost because of the notion that this had to be controlled by quarantining a region. First of all, quarantine has never been shown to work effectively to prevent the spread of a disease. It's always isolation and maybe house quarantine, following target cases and looking at contacts. But it's never been shown that regional quarantine works. It's open for discussion now that we have air travel to deal with. But I felt that during SARS, too many statements were made as fact that were really just opinion. And in the end, only 7,000 plus people got this, but we cost the world economy billions and billions of dollars. And then we forgot to learn the lesson from that there's a great cost here.